To tonight's council special meeting of Tuesday, October the 10th. First order of business, we need to, in the absence of our acting clerk, need a motion of council appointing our CAO as acting clerk. Moved by Councillor Pietrangelo, second by Councillor Campbell. We'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved. Thank you for that. Any disclosures of a pecuniary interest? Okay, I am going to declare an interest in the report 10 men in a tent 3.2, and we will start with report 3.1, our Ryerson Innovation Hub proposal, and I'll ask our CAO and, our Director of Economic Development. Did you want to start us off, Mr. Felicetti?
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship. As Council is aware, Ryerson submitted a FedDev application in 2015 to establish the Niagara Falls Ryerson Innovation Hub and in the downtown, and after a lengthy review process by FedDev, they weren't successful. However, they didn't stop there, and after receiving the feedback from FedDev, they worked on and revised the application, and last week they resubmitted, and staff really appreciates their commitment to the project. And we're fortunate to have such a well-respected institution as a partner. Ryerson, just to give you an example, Ryerson's DMZ is the #1 incubator in North America. Not just Canada, North America, #3 in the world. Through the DMZ, which was established in 2011, they have incubated more than 290 businesses, which have created 2,700 jobs. And those businesses, some of the top businesses, have attracted $307 million in investment. So such just a dynamic success. They've been so successful that right now they have 3 applicants for every available space. So they don't have the space to accommodate the need. And they've taken this success on the road, if you will. They've established hubs and zones and networks right across the country. They have a zone with GE in Calgary. In the US, they are involved in the Silicon Valley, in India and in China, and most recently they announced their latest hub in New York City. So they're doing some great things, and we're very pleased that Ryerson is leading the application with FedDev. The hub is going to meet a number of the city's goals or the council's strategic objectives, such as youth retention and attraction, diversifying the economy, downtown redevelopment, to name a few. The city's contribution in this project, if approved at a later date, would be $4.2 million over 5 years, which would go toward the operating costs of the hub. And there will also be some land and space, or building space, dedicated to the project. It's anticipated that the review process is going to take about 3 to 4 months by FedDev. And once that review process is complete, and we find out through Ryerson if they were successful, we'll bring back final details to this council. We'll have the opportunity to decide whether or not you want to enter into an agreement with Ryerson and approve the necessary contracts and bylaws at that time, Your Worship.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Yes, Councillor Carrion.
Thank you, Worship. For those people who don't have this report, could we have, I know Mr. Felicetti just alluded to it, but can we have the second paragraph read clearly and slowly? It's, I think, the whole crux of a lot of what's been going on and questions asked. Could we have that read? The second paragraph under the executive summary. I know you just mentioned part of it.
Second paragraph. As council is
Upon.
upon confirmation from Ryerson on the results of the application process, staff will return to council with final details, at which time council can determine if they wish to proceed and enter into an agreement with Ryerson and their partners to make the Innovation Hub a reality.
So I'm assuming that means that it's up to us entirely on whether we want to proceed or not, on whether we want to commit money, spend money, move forward. It comes back to us, and it's entirely up to this council to decide at that time. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yep, that's correct. Yes, Councillor Crater.
A couple of questions. Thank you, Councillor Carroll, for bringing that forward too. And I know we asked that when we had talked about this hub the first time, that in-camera meeting. I think it was Councillor Pietrangelo that said something to the effect, we're not on the hook maybe that's not the right word, but we're not on the hook for the financial commitment until it comes back, and the answer was no, we're not, we're just a partner. So I have a few questions, and I didn't get a chance, I was going to send them in, but we only just got the report about, that we have in front of us. So I did send it out to some people in the community, some people in the financial community, some people in the business community. I just said, just give me some input, because we're looking at possibly spending some of your money as taxpayers. So I'm gonna share some of their comments to me, but I know we're not gonna ask you to try to respond to them now, because I know that if this passes, then those answers will be given to us at that time when we make a decision whether we're gonna go forward or not. So just a couple questions that they asked of me. As a taxpayer, I understand this and support education through property income taxes. I'm also aware that the amount of taxes that I pay municipally is a function of the size of the assessment base, the projected new construction, and the population growth of the community and other. As a taxpayer, I expect municipal taxes that I pay to go to services that I directly or indirectly serve the needs of the residents or provide a return as a resident. So that's the question they asked. What are those? So again, I'm not asking you to respond.
No, well, the fair comment, I mean, we can answer, I think we did cover it in the prelogue, but maybe Mr.
What I'd
Seo.
like to do, through you,
Yeah.
what I'd like to do is, I'll give you this in writing, and then I'll get it back in writing, and then I can share it with the people. We're not on camera, so nobody.
No, we are actually, we're being live streamed right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get you your answers now. If you don't mind, I don't wanna leave questions out there, I'd rather have them answered right here.
So
that- yep.
So, Mr. Mayor, to that question, what our view of this would be that the funding in its $4.2 million over 5 years, so that's a little over $800,000 a year. If you recall, when we got the OLG monies, this council talked quite a bit about allocating some of those funds to economic development activities. We've done a little bit of that over the years. What our response would be is we would suggest to this council that the funding of this project come from OLG dollars, which is generated through the casino revenues, which is basically a non-tax item. It's not coming from the taxpayer. It's coming from our contribution from the OLG, which you recall about 4 or 5 years ago, we had renegotiated when we were originally getting about $3 million. Now we're getting somewhere in the neighborhood of $22 million. And we believe that a chunk of that should go towards economic development activities in this community. The major chunk of it over the last several years has gone towards infrastructure redevelopment, roads, parks, community improvement projects. But we as a staff feel on an application like this, again, following up with your strategic priorities in terms of youth retention, job creation, downtown redevelopment, we feel that the expenditure of that $800,000 a year over the 5 years would meet all of those strategic commitments. And again, the funding would come from, our recommendation would be that would come from non-tax, which would be OLG money that this city gets as a contribution for hosting the 2 casinos.
Okay, thank you. Where is the cost benefit analysis to show what the direct and indirect return to the city, being the residents, will be as a result of this investment? So there's nothing in there, and the fellow that called me and said, where is it, Kim? So that's the question. Do we have that?
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, some of the detail in the submission under the FedDev application, some of that detail's there. Mr. Fellows said he drew out a few pertinent points that are in the report. It certainly doesn't get to the level of detail tonight that you may be looking at, but it is talking about the number of potential startup jobs, startup positions in the incubator. So it does briefly mention that in the report, but certainly not to the level of detail you're looking
Maybe
for.
a simple question, will we see this, will the public see it? That you just referred to, when it comes back, I assume then we'll see, because again, like, we haven't seen the application. I don't know what's in the app. I know what was in the first application because we got a copy of it and we looked at it, but I haven't seen the second one. I don't know if the second application is exactly the same as the first one, which wasn't successful, or did they revamp it because they're applying for something different this time? Is it a different application?
Through you, your worship, it's the same program at FedDev. They took comments from FedDev and they revised the application and resubmitted. And yes, if Ryerson is successful, all the details will be shared with council in 3 to 4 months once we have that answer.
All right, how many new residents are expected to locate to the falls as a result of this investment? A couple people asked me that, do you know how many, do you have an idea?
I know it's in terms of residents coming, but what the whole idea is, if you incubate, and we gave some of the numbers of potential jobs, the intent is, once these folks establish these businesses in Niagara Falls and starting with the downtown, it's a work and live situation. So it's a real opportunity to bring a lot more foot traffic, and it's not just in the downtown, but they can spread out into other parts of the community to set up their businesses.
What has been the result or the return to other cities that have participated in the hubs? You mentioned a couple of other communities that haven't. Do you have figures on their returns, how they benefited financially?
Just
benefited?
Through you, Your Worship. Obviously, the goals were the same. It's really to retain youth, keep the young people here, give them an opportunity to establish their business, and incubate.
Don't want to interrupt you, but a return, an actual.
Well, it's the return would be through job creation. Through you, Your Worship.
Okay.
Job creation. It's when these new businesses leave the incubator and create their own business, and hire more people and staff. There's a number of benefits to the community that derive from that. Obviously, there's tax revenue, there's jobs, there's a lot of positive benefits that comes from successful businesses.
Councillor, it said here in Toronto, 293 companies were created, more than 2,700 jobs were created and incubated in Toronto, in the GTA. So this is the same incubator, an extension of Ryerson. And our CAO would like to weigh in on this as well.
If I could just put this in perspective, we happened to have a very good conversation, the mayor and I and Mr. Felicetti last week with the folks from Brampton. And they've got some similar strategic commitments that they want to bring forward for their community. And just put it in perspective. So there was a process where there was a university campus up for grabs. And we started in this process several years ago. Our sights were sort of set on, can we get that? We did a study that showed the capacity of having something like that in the downtown. And we were not successful in that process. Brampton was. Brampton was the one that was selected. Now, the city of Brampton, just in the past week or two, has committed $150 million towards that project. Now, 50 of it is going directly as a contribution to Ryerson, same university, building a building in their downtown. The other $100 million is going to the construction of a library and an incubation hub. Completely separate. So they're investing $100 million into something similar in Brampton because they believe that there's going to be returns for their community in terms of what that innovation hub will bring. So when we weren't successful in that process, we kept on our discussions with Ryerson and entered into the first round of FedDev application that Mr. Felicetti's talked about. So the application's been revised. It's been downgraded in the sense of our contribution, because our contribution will be $4.2 million. The last one, it was around $10 million, $8.5 million in contribution, and about $1.5 million in-kind contributions. So that number's been reduced dramatically. The total project is about $33 million, but our total ask is 4.2. But I just want to put it in perspective that there are other communities like Brampton that are really heading down this path and contributing significantly. Now, Brampton doesn't get casino money, so that's coming directly from the taxpayer. So that's $100 million simply on what I'll call the library, and joined with that, this innovation hub in Brampton. $50 million direct contribution to the city itself, or to the university itself, just to build their building in their downtown.
I was asked, how about some definitions for the feel-good words that are in the report that have no accompanying explanations? And they said, for example, these are some of the feel-good words that they were referring to when they sent it back to me. What is an ecosystem of innovation? What does improving the urban ecosystem mean? What does enhancing the city's social and cultural fabric mean? And how will this benefit the taxpayer of the city of Niagara Falls? Those are three things.
Well, Councillor, I think benefiting the taxpayer, I think we've covered that. It's jobs, creation, incubation, it's youth retention, downtown redevelopment. I think that's all been covered off in the question there. And I think that'll feed right into the social fabric as well.
I'll share it with them and see what they say. But
I don't know why they didn't just send it to all of us.
The way it worked, you make a good point. We just got this. I just got the report. We all just got it.
Well, what time,
So-
when did we get it? What time?
1 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
It's only a 4-page report.
So I just took the liberty of sending it out to some people that I knew and said, look at this and just give me some input. And that was it.
Okay.
And so then they responded
Okay.
back to me. That's how it came about. The one asked me, is if the hub, if it's actually independently operated, does it generate revenue on its own? And how much will it generate? Or does it have to live on continued government grants? And
Mr. Felicetti?
Through you, your worship, no, there will be a revenue stream as the hub grows, but there are different sources of revenue stream now. I don't want to get into full details of that application. It's going to come back, as we mentioned. But yes, there's revenue streams that will come to the hub.
I think a lot of the questions that they've asked, we'll see when it
Yes.
comes back here for approval. But we will see the application. And the last thing is,
Say something?
I remember the first time we talked about this, there were, it was ourselves and Ryerson as partners, and then I knew there was another partner. Is there still 3 partners involved, or is it just Ryerson and ourselves?
I believe there's private sector partners as well.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So are we at liberty to say who they are, or is that not supposed to?
If we're successful and this comes forward, then you're going to get to see everything.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, the CAO would like to clarify something.
So if I could, and I know we've done this before and we've stood up here before, I just want to clarify for you and for the press, but we had a letter from Ryerson, and we wanted to be able to be here tonight to have a conversation with council about what our role or what our part in this application is, and that's exactly what we're doing. But Ryerson, and I'm just going to read parts of this to you, that, they said, as we've discussed with you in the past, the FedDev application should be treated as is confidential, and it should not be shared. Applications to programs such as this are highly competitive, and the work that goes into the application by university staff represents a significant investment of time and effort by us. The content would be valuable to other organizations, even if they're not directly in competition for this program. They can use that material for other programs throughout their application process. And they say, we look forward to continuing to work with city staff. So we're not trying to be secretive here, but they're saying to us there's proprietary information that their staff at the university has spent countless hours working on to get an application to this point. And they're saying for us to be successful in this, that should be confidential at this time. When the application is approved, those details can be disclosed because you're now out of the competition process. What we're here tonight doing is trying to share as much of that information as we can tonight without breaching that confidentiality. And we wanted council to know what their involvement, what their level of involvement would be as we move through the application process. And if council didn't like the initial application that they hear tonight, Mr. Mayor, then tell us to stop and we'll finish that and vote against it, and we'll tell Ryerson University thanks, but no thanks. If you want to continue down this process, and that's what the report's suggesting, we'll continue through the review process and have full disclosure once we're successful in attaining the $33 million FedDev application.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so we're looking for a motion from council. Councilor?
I have to say that this is the kind of report I expected to be made public in 2015. I like that there's information on here, and I think if we'd have had something like this in 2015, we wouldn't have had 2 years of endless questions. That said, when we go through and you talk about potential land commitments, is that something that's going, what I don't want is FedDev to approve it, the intent, and then come back and it be sold to us as, we have this, we have to vote for it today, vote for it now, or we don't get to leverage that money. So are we going to know ahead of time what, in the 4.5 million, what land we have committed? I liked hearing Mr. Felicetti say that he didn't want to go into the details of the whole application, so he knows the whole application. I'm glad to hear that. But are you going to tell us what land we have an intent to commit? Because that was problematic for me at that voting camera.
Mr. CEO?
Well, I would say, I'm gonna say that in the first phase, there's really no commitment of land. But the land we talked about before was land that we have ownership of in the downtown. So we talked about the old courthouse out front. We've talked about a couple different parking lots that we have in the downtown. So those are properties that we could throw into the mix. They're municipally owned. If we need those for sort of future phases where we need to expand, they're already in our ownership. So that's about all the detail we'd have on it right now. But the first round is really, our money will be structured into programming. So if I can use an example, we've got a similar operation that's geared more to what I'll call more adult programming and things right across the street. Very similar, except this is all based on youth and youth orientation, oriented towards the youth, and the fact that we have Ryerson University. But a very similar situation. So across the street, we have a partnership with the province, and we provide programming money. We staff that building with programming money from us and the feds, and it's in a rented facility in the downtown. So the first round is kind of similar to that, where our money would go into programming, and that programming would be utilized to forward the incubator setup. So we're envisioning in future phases there may be, and I say maybe, requirements for us to have some of our existing facilities like the courthouse or other properties we own in the downtown as part of that application.
Thank you. Are we going to pull in, because it talked about having regional partners, municipal partners, are we going to pull in the downtown BIA? Are we going to pull in, like, when we talk about other sectors, I have spent a lot of time researching Brampton. And I mean, they did everything in an open, transparent manner. She created her blue ribbon committee. The minutes are online. Her minutes, their meetings were open to the public. When we talked about it before, it was it was supposed to have been hush hush because people were trying to, I don't know, step in, interfere in the process. Are we bringing in our downtown this time? Because they were not one of the, in the past application, they were not one of the groups that put a letter forward supporting the application. And did we put letters forward supporting this application again?
I don't know. Do we have letters in this one?
I believe Ryerson did have some. Yes, some letters.
So in
Did
fairness
we,
and clarity.
as in the last time you provided us those letters, did we do the same thing again this time?
I don't know. Did we do letters? You got to remember, as I think you're aware, this is the application done by Ryerson, not by the city. So we're a party to their application. So the downtown BIA, I think they're all here right now. I think it's safe to say they're pretty supportive of what we're trying to do here. They're a little disappointed last time this didn't succeed. So this time we're hoping that we do succeed, that we're all on the same page.
Great. So I think we need to explain to the residents, because Mr. Todd said, if it doesn't go through, or we're not going to commit that money, we're going to tell Ryerson, thank you, goodbye. There is not going to be a classroom. I think that's really important. I called the DMZ office today, and I asked them, do you have classes in there? No, they don't. So anybody out there thinking this is a campus, let's be clear, it's not. You cannot go there, you cannot take a course. They are not offering classrooms. That's not what we're looking for.
It doesn't say that anywhere. It says digital media
Oh,
zone,
no, I understand
incubator.
that.
Yeah.
So, but I had, when we first got emailed this, I said, do you think you could provide a PowerPoint so that the residents at home could see what the DMZ does? This is a lot of, when you talk about enhancing the city's social and cultural fabric, contributing to civic engagement, building enduring relationships. I like the talking about how, what was it called, the schematic. It's in language that if we read it verbatim here, most of the residents wouldn't understand. Is there a PowerPoint or a presentation you can bring back to council? Just like any application, we are party to their application. So it's no different than them coming to us and doing a presentation. But can we do a presentation to the residents to say, hey, we're looking at putting $4.5 million into what will be an innovation hub, DMZ, and have the residents see what exactly it is we're doing?
Mr. Shea.
Mr. Mayor, I think if I could suggest, when we get to the point, once the application is successful, I think we'll bring the Ryerson people in. We'll set up a bit of a show. We'll let them explain. We'll have their people here, and we'll introduce them to you and get them to meet the mayor and council, and we can spend as much time as that we want. That'll be at the point when it's successful. We have no hesitation. In fact, I think they would love to come in and make that full presentation to you at that point. So we can certainly do that.
Thank you. And one other point, are we still, as a council, pursuing a university? Not a hub, but a real university?
Councillor, the answer to that is no, we're not. There was a process that the province went through. We were not successful. I'll be a little blunt. I think we had some forces around this region that didn't want to see us succeed in that because they already have establishments in this region. And, I think it's fair to say that they picked one new major university installation, and that went to Brampton. They are expanding programming and things in other areas. And I wouldn't rule out in the future, once you get the presence of somebody like Ryerson in your community, in the future, that can expand into other programming. Is it going to be a campus? Is it going to be a university? No. But once you've got them here, there may be other sort of voids that they see in the community, voids that aren't being presented by other post-secondary institutions that they might want to provide to us. Certainly not in the plans for the first phase, but in terms of having a brand new campus like is going into Brampton, again, we found out we were unsuccessful in that a while ago. That's why we refocused into something that we truly believed could meet our strategic priorities in the short term, and that was getting a relationship with Ryerson and an innovation hub like we're putting in front of you tonight.
Thank you. But when you just one more question. When you say forces around the region that have self-interest, are we talking about other post-secondary establishments? Because I want to make that clear that it's not people around this table or the downtown BIA. It is, I'm assuming what you're talking about is other post-secondary institutions.
Well, that's exactly it. And we went through a process. Actually, the BIA was involved with it. They had hired some consultants back a couple years ago. There was phone calls made to actually the mayor personally made phone calls to every single university president in this province. There were calls made, the BIA helped fund a consultant to call every college in this province to pitch the idea of coming to Niagara Falls. We got no response. We made 2 visits, I believe. We visited Carleton University and Ryerson. That was the only visits we made. And it wasn't for lack of effort to try to get a university interested in coming here. But there was universities around us that already had a foothold. They showed no interest in expanding into our community, and that led us to continue our relationship with Ryerson.
Okay, thank you.
Any other? Yeah, Councillor Kerrio.
Just a quick question, Your Worship. So, this particular process, this report, is this process any different than the one that we agreed to before that was unsuccessful? Is it any different? Because this is my understanding of what this council agreed to before, and that it was exactly the same way, and that it was gonna come back to this council. That paragraph that was read was what I understood was gonna happen the last time. I'd just like to know if that's the case or not the case.
Councillor, thank you. It's the exact same process. It's a different application, but it's the exact same process.
That's what I thought.
Councillor Crater.
The only difference, Your Worship, which I'm really pleased, is the process. The last time we did it downstairs in the basement, and the public didn't get to hear anything. And when you walked out, into the community. People, it got out there that we're doing something, you said, I can't tell you, confidential. But now, we're putting it out on the table. That's the biggest difference, which I think is really a positive thing. And you mentioned it. Now they know what is said, that we're not committed to anything until it comes back and it's successful. Then we'll decide then. That's huge. We can now say that, people hear that. So they feel a lot more comfortable with the fact that potentially $4 million. We all know around the table, we've got all kinds of capital works for the residents with flooding basements, cracked roads, rats in their backyard, in their front yards, and their barbie. And to those people, that's their priority. And when you're sitting with them at their homes and you say, well, we're busy working on a hub, they're not interested. They're saying, Kim, these are the things that I live day to day. How about dealing with these things? So this gives them an opportunity to hear what we're looking at and why it may be a benefit to them. So some of the residents, you go to 3rd Avenue or 4th Avenue, you're out there trying to help them. They're not talking about things that we talk around the table. They're talking about their real world, that I'm having trouble paying my property taxes. I'm working 3 jobs at the same time, and I'm trying to make ends meet. So I agree, it is pretty exciting with the way it's been explained to us, but you have to be sure you're also talking to those people out there who are in the real world trying to make ends meet. And the money that we're using is technically their money. So you want to be sure when you say to them, this is why I put my hand up, this is why I voted. They feel that, yeah, it did help me in some way. There's a benefit to me. Although I have a lot of things I want the city to do, this is going to help me or help my child or my kids grow forward. So that's why I'm really pleased that we brought it upstairs and we did it out here in the public domain. You got to say what you did at the very beginning, which is a key point to the whole thing, which is what Victor said down the basement, we're not committed to anything. I think that's great that we've done it that way.
I understand, but my point still is that until we get to this point and all the details come back to us and we can ask questions to the people that can answer them, there was nothing to talk about. We haven't committed anything. We didn't commit anything until it comes back to us and we're in a position to discuss all the details and either commit or not commit based on what's given to us. There was nothing to talk about before. There really is nothing to talk about now until it comes back to us. And all of the questions that whoever asked you were questions that as a prudent council we'd be asking anyways. Otherwise we shouldn't be here. Yep.
RCAO?
Mr. Mayor, again, I'd like to come back and with respect to the funding, and putting it in perspective. So last year, our capital budget was about $62 million. So we had a reinvestment into this community, $62 million on roads, sewers, water, parks, buildings, facilities. And what we're asking here is, this application is $4.2 million over 5 years. And again, our belief from a strategy is not to put all your eggs in one basket. So our view here is that you need a strategy to start to try to diversify the community. We feel that we can partially diversify the community. Everybody knows we're pretty solidly based in a hospitality tourism sector. Our goal for the last 2 terms has been trying to get diversity in our economy so that we can keep youth here, that new jobs can be created through these incubators. And we've had some success with adult programs across the street, which have created 40, 50 jobs over the last few years that have stayed in this community. We just think this is the next step, and it gets elevated by bringing a partner like Ryerson into that.
Yep, Councilor Carey.
Just another comment. I had made some comments similar to that. For all of the people who criticize this council for only investing in tourism, for not looking at anything else, there are not a whole lot of other businesses breaking our doors down to locate in Niagara Falls. This is an initiative that we're taking that could bring something different to the city of Niagara Falls other than tourism. And up to this point, at no risk and no cost to the taxpayers, until all the details come back and we can make a decision based on what we see.
Councilor?
Just a question. Do you think when it comes back, or if staff could get us some information on how much the City of Toronto invested into the DMZ? I'd be interested in knowing that, just for my own interest.
The City of Toronto, by the way, was unsuccessful their first time when they first tried to bring the DMZ forward, so we're in good company. And the other thing, and I appreciate Councilor Crater saying, people that have different concerns in the community. I hear a lot of people saying to me, my son can't find a job, my daughter's looking for work, they've had to move away. We've also identified in our strategic initiatives of this council post-secondary presence in our community. And here, this is the best. It's not just someone taking a course. They're the entrepreneurs helping the entrepreneurs incubate and create jobs. This is how the RIM started with BlackBerry and all these types of companies. They started, they incubated, they invested, and they expanded till they created all sorts of jobs and supportive jobs. This is a mining for the miners kind of approach. And that's the beauty about this. It isn't just traditional post-secondary. This is going after the opportunities, and that's going to create the jobs and the new industries. They said a lot of the jobs that are going to be coming out, or a lot of the people now that are graduating don't even know the jobs they're going to be doing because they're still being developed, whether it's photonics or quantum physics or whatever the new industries are. We saw things at the DMZ in Toronto, and I'd recommend anybody to take a tour and see some of the developments of what's happening. It's unbelievable. These kids are developing things that are hard to even get your head wrapped around. New ways of advertising, the holographic kind of advertising. What you see now when you look, now they project advertising onto sidewalks, onto buildings, onto hotels. It's a whole new way of doing business. Councillor.
Thank you. Are we going, when they come back to us and in conversation with staff and Ryerson, are we going to, or are they looking to follow the same model they follow in Toronto? Because when you go online and you read everything, and I spoke to the young lady today, my only concern about that was New York, Toronto, Dubai, those are city centrals. I get that. We aren't that. And my only concern in reading their statistics was that only 9% of businesses that apply to become part of the DMZ are successful in being accepted. 9% is a really low percentage for me, and that's based in Toronto. Will that be the same criteria we look here? Because I think we have a little bit of a hard time.
Well, this is Ryerson that's going to be running it. It's not the city. So we're going to have Ryerson running a digital media zone when we're successful. So the city isn't going to be running it.
But I would assume if we're putting in $4.5 million, we are able to give our points of view or have our input into it. Because to me, 9% was really low. And we don't have the types of businesses Toronto has. That's the point of getting it. But we don't have them here now. And somebody said to me, well, why wouldn't you just go to Toronto, to the DMZ, and use theirs? Because you're in a big city, you have all the resources there. Why would we use Niagara Falls and not Toronto's? I want us to be able to answer that.
Mr.
As I mentioned earlier, right now, the DMZ gets 3 applicants for every one available space. And these are really good applicants. And this is an opportunity with the GO train, and believe me, Ryerson recognizes that, connected to our downtown, there's a real opportunity to get these young people established here, which would be great for Niagara Falls. It's working with both youth retention, youth attraction. So I think it'll accomplish that in terms of we'll work with the students we have here, the young people, give them a place and a space where they can take their ideas and commercialize them. But we'll have input. Our small business enterprise office, business development, will be at the table with them if we move forward with this project.
Okay, if there's no further comments, we're looking for a motion. Yes, Councillor Pietrangelo?
Yeah, Your Worship. I'll be happy to move it. I just wanted to give a couple comments myself. It's very difficult to find anything negative. In fact, I really believe that there isn't anything negative in regards to the path that the city is on right now. All we've done is the same thing that we've done in a lot of other instances. We've applied for funding from an upper level of government. Once we understand that we've been approved, and that's the point that we can look at the details and we can analyze it and we can see whether or not we want to invest, if it's a good investment for us. A couple of things that are exciting, Your Worship, about this one, and I'm one of the people that have been talking about taking a portion of the casino revenues and using it for economic development, because I really believe that we're at a plateau in regards to the casino revenues. And if we don't do something to increase our economic development, if we don't use those resources somehow in order to actually grow that golden egg that we have, then we're always going to be at that point or even lower in the future once Toronto opens a casino. So I think it's a good investment from my standpoint. The other point I was going to mention is the fact that this is an employment incubator. It's actually better than having an education hub. I mean, if you talk to any mayor in the country, they're probably going to tell you that employment is at the top of their list, or economic development. We have an opportunity to have an incubator in our own city. I really don't think that we should be negative at this point.
Yep, thank you. I agree with that. All right, we're looking for a motion. There's a recommendation in the report. Looking for someone to move the motion. Okay, moved by Counselor Pietrangelo, seconded by Counselor Thompson. There's no further discussion on that. We'll call the vote. All those in favor?
And there's no money
Okay,
committed, right?
and that's unanimous.
Mr. Mayor, I was just wondering if I could just add a friendly amendment to that, because it is such, I know all the other municipalities are trying to fight for this same egg and trying to bring employment to a city, and a lot of stuff has to be confidential as this process is going through. Just, let's allow the FedEv application to proceed without any distractions at all. So I'd just like to add a friendly amendment. So until we hear back from the staff on the results of the application process, that we will be in no further dialogue or discussion on this matter unless council goes through our CO.
Okay. Any discussion or comment on that?
Can he clarify that? What exactly are you saying?
I'm saying that we don't discuss anything until it all comes back to us from the FedEd application, until it gets processed and the results come back. We don't discuss it any further through the application unless we go through our CO. So if you want to make something to go, or someone wants to go privately and talk to, they're not allowed to do that through the process.
What does that mean? What
If
does
you have
that mean?
comment, please stand
I'm
up.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Counselor Crater?
We just passed it.
No, I know, we're
And
not.
we actually had a really good conversation around the table. We all felt, I really felt really positive. I go into Tim Hortons and they say, Kim, what happened last night at the city council? You tell me, I can't tell you, because first I gotta go to the CEO and get his permission. to
No, we're
make
not
sure I
discussing it at council anymore until it goes through the
But
application.
why are you doing
Because,
this? I guess
because there's a lot of other municipalities that are trying to get the same thing we're trying to get.
Yeah, but it'll be in the
It's
newspaper
public.
tomorrow.
Yeah, it's in the newspaper tomorrow. I'm just saying, at council,
If you feel that's what you need to do, I'll go with you. I just don't understand why you would put something like that forward. It's almost like you don't trust anybody around the table. And what's next? And the next yeah. Okay, if that's how you feel, that's fine. Okay. My goodness.
Any other discussion to the motion? Okay, so we have a motion by Counselor Strange. Do we have a seconder?
well, he has to have a friendly amendment, so he has to have it added as a friendly amendment. He didn't.
Oh, to the original motion.
That's what he asked for.
Okay. All right, so who made the motion again? Who did?
I did.
Okay, Counselor Pietrangelo, do you accept that?
Yeah, I'm fine with not receiving an update until we know whether or not the application's been approved.
Okay, and that was seconded by Counselor Thompson. Are you good with it?
Yeah.
I support that, and I think probably all Mike Strange is trying to do is to make sure we don't have an ongoing situation creating negativity that Ryerson picks up again and then we get turned down. That's all I think what you're trying to
If someone
say.
misconstrued what I was saying, that's exactly what I was saying.
And in fact, I read the report. We didn't get it till 1:30 today, and to have it circulated out in the community and get responses back is astonishing. If you want to ask questions, ask questions. This should have been a 5-minute meeting, a very positive, constructive community effort being put forward, again, to try to make things happen here. And yet, we have to go through comments and questioning when we know we're going to have the opportunity to do that when it comes back. That's when you want to ask the question. So I think I'm happy to look and support Strange's motion.
Okay, so we have a friendly amendment. We'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, one opposed. Okay, so now we're going to 3.2. I'm going to switch seats with Councilor Pietrangelo. You could chair this part of the meeting. I've got a conflict.
You guys can stay. Just kidding, just kidding, just kidding. Supper time.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Ciao. Okay, the next report deals with 10 men in a tent. I guess it would be Mr. Todd. I think that's who the email is addressed to, so I guess it would be Mr. Todd who would be addressing this.
Yes, Mr.
Sorry?
I move the report.
There is no report, there's an email.
If I could just explain a little bit. So, Mr. Martineau was here at the last meeting, and we had to kind of sort through, council referred it to staff. Just back, you see Mr. Martineau's email to explain a little bit further as to what it is. So there's a grant that's available through the region up to $50,000, and the request here is that we would be a municipal partner, and that would be up to 25%, which would be $12,500. So in order to qualify under the regional grant, there's two criteria. You have to be either a not-for-profit group, or you have to be one of the 12 municipalities in the region. So that's how the funding can flow. So Mr. Martineau's request would be that we would be the municipal partner, and the application would go in by the city. The region would come up with the other money up to $50,000, and we would provide the 1/4. Now, Mr. Martineau has indicated they're basically a for-profit organization, I guess, for lack of better words. But this $50,000 would go towards funding production costs within the city. All the filming will be done within the city. So I guess there's a couple different ways council could come at it. There's two parts to the motion. One part of the motion really deals with what I'll call sort of some sundry items, whether it be some transportation costs or road closure costs, things like that. That's certainly within our purview. Now, you might want to look at the other part, the first ask, in terms of the grant. So it could go either two ways, I guess. It could be the City of Niagara Falls as the partner and provide the $12,500 guarantee and be the lead on the application. I guess the other would be is that you'd find a not-for-profit organization that could be spearheading that. In this case, Project Share is going to be the recipient of the money. And perhaps, I'm not sure if this is possible, perhaps they'd have to take that back to the board or something, but perhaps money could flow, the contribution from the city could flow through to Project Share, which then could become the applicant. I really haven't thought that through much today, but those are the only two avenues, through a not-for-profit or through the city, being us, that you can get access to the funding and through the application to the region. Now, my understanding is that the applications are going to have to be in soon. And that's why we needed to have it dealt with you tonight. So.
Okay. Any questions of council? Council Carrier?
Well, I was under the impression that when we asked for a report to come back from staff, that there was a report going to come back from staff similar to the one we just passed, where staff went through, the pros and cons of us getting involved in this, and whether we had done anything like this before, and that we were going to get a recommendation one way or another from staff. That's what I thought we were asking of staff, so not just to see an email. That's what I thought that was going to come back to us. But
To that point, I think I actually made the motion to approve it, and then Vic put on an amendment that it come back as a report to staff, just not carte blanche approve what they asked that night. So I thought it was going to be a different style report coming back to us also.
Yeah, and I wish it could have too. It was just a timing issue. We had the Thanksgiving holiday. We just had a conversation with Mr. Martineau late in the week. We're back today. We really didn't have time to put a formal report together, so I do apologize for that. We were just trying to work the details of some of the application out today, as a matter of fact. The other thing I will alert you to, we have had a conversation with Ms. Moldenhauer and Clark Burnett at the museum. The city was intending on putting an application forward through the museums under a similar program with respect to cultural initiatives. If it runs through the city, you're only allowed to apply one application per year. So if we chose to apply this route with 10 Men in a Tent film, it would preclude us from entering into one with the museum. So that's something council should be aware of. And again, we just found out that today that it was the same program that the museum was applying to for some cultural initiatives that they will be undertaking next year. So if that was the case, it would leave the not-for-profit group or avenue where I guess technically we could make that donation through Project Share, who then could contribute it to their portion to the region, and the region would deal with the application that way.
Sorry, were you trying to clarify things or murky them?
You know what, I'm still trying to get this even clear in my own head as to, and I do apologize that we don't have the report before you tonight, so.
I think, I mean, I'm not sure if I understand Councilor Carrio, but what would be the recommendation of staff?
Well, knowing what we've determined today, I think our recommendation would be this. First of all, on the second ask of Mr. Martineau with respect to the road closures and stuff, council could pass a motion to waive those charges.
But the other one's time sensitive, right?
The second one, I would suggest that what we may want to do is approve the $12,500 donation to Project Share as a not-for-profit organization that then, I guess with the approval of their board, could approach the region on the grant to get the matching funds that way. And basically, the Project Share, the money would be going to them. It would be a flow-through, basically through a grant application. They're going to be the recipients of any proceeds, or 25% of the proceeds from the film. So I think that would probably make sense. And we're still making that donation through the Project Share, who is a partner of ours, and we fund anyway through a fee-for-service program every year.
Okay. Councilor Ioannoni.
So that was basically the motion I made at the last council meeting, so I would make both those motions.
Well, his motion is to give the $12,500 to Project Share.
Yeah,
Your
last
motion
time mine was to give it to Mr. Martineau, but we didn't know
Right.
how the flow through would be. And we've all agreed that it was a great benefit, not just to our community, but to other communities too. So I'd be happy to make both motions. I'm concerned, a little concerned with the murky comment, and he finds it a little murky, but it's going to work out. It is exactly what Mr. Martineau asked us for the last ask.
Okay. Seconder to that motion by Councilor Crater. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Carrio.
So we're gonna give the money to Project Share, not to the 10 million,
That's correct.
film company,
That is correct.
right? So then
They're going to flow it through.
they're gonna flow through. So they're gonna be the ones gambling, not us. So if you gave the money to Project Share and said, here's an extra 12,500, that they would have it. This way, they're gonna take the 12,500 and invest it in the filmmaking company, and it may or may not reap them some profits, right? Is that the way I understand it?
Yeah, the idea would be that we'd make the donation to Project Share. They'll have $12,500.
I understand.
If it's not successful in the grant, they've got $12,500 for Project Share. If it's successful, they're investing in an opportunity for the film,
Yep.
with the hope that they're going to make more than $12,500 back in returns.
I like that better because, like I said, they're gambling, not us. We're giving the money to Project Share.
Okay, everyone understands the motion? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Okay, and we have an addition, to tonight's agenda. Did everyone get one of these?
Yes.
Yep. Heartland Forest. They're holding their annual Pumpkin Fest. All the money obviously comes back into the community, and they're asking for use of our bus for a shuttle that will run from Niagara Square to the place. Okay, moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Crater. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you for that. And, pardon me? We've got bylaws. Okay, motion to introduce the bylaws, be given a first reading, moved by Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Strange. All those in favor? All that's, okay. We're gonna look for another one, second and third reading?
Does he not have to
Do you have to say something now?
He does.
We say,
The bylaws.
the first reading, they got
Well, the
first.
clerk that was on the ball would probably know we had the same thing, yes. So, Mr. Mayor, the bylaws haven't been read a first time, be read a second and third time and do pass.
Second and third.
Motion by Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Carrio, that the bylaws be given a second and third reading. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved. Do you have to say something now after that?
I
thought that was pretty good.
Oh, you mixed it all together before we actually did it? Okay, that's good.
New business?
Well, there's no new business on here, but is there something of a timely nature, Counselor?
There is.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
Thanks.
We can keep it in under 5 minutes, guys, so we know people have time commitments.
Sure. I think it was about 9 years ago, Your Worship, that City Council received a deputation from all the residents who lived on Miller Road in regards to flooding. And it had, I think part of what city staff were looking at is making improvements to Miller Road drainage when the development that was south of Miller Road was going forward. It's going forward now. They painted a line down the middle of Miller Road. They're going to be excavating the middle of the road and putting in a drainage pipe. My thoughts were, when it gets to the Niagara Parkway, I'd like to see that pipe oversized. If the city needs to pay for its portion of oversizing it, so be it. But if we would be able to oversize it and then tie some of the water that we get from our ditches into that oversized pipe, I think it would help out everybody. It'd be a very cost-effective way of doing it. So I'd like to make a motion, actually, to pass that suggestion through to staff, and maybe staff can give us an update of where they are, what they plan on doing.
Okay? Yeah, Counselor Thompson?
Yeah, I'll second the motion, but I've been actively involved with the Parks Commission and the city, and they've come to an agreement on how this is going to be handled. Mr. Holman isn't here tonight. But, you know, I know they've taken all this into consideration, but I'll second the motion just to get it
Okay.
moving.
So moved by Counselor Pietrangelo, seconded by Counselor Thompson, that the drainage that's being put on Miller go to an oversized pipe as it gets to the Parks Commission, and have staff, and have staff report back to us on the status of this suggestion. Is that right? Okay, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, thank you.
One other quick one, Your Worship.
Okay.
Your Worship, when's the fire study coming back?
Mr. CAO?
Well, we're still working through with the consultants. We had a proposal call that went out. We did not get a very good response. And we pretty much have to go back to the drawing board on the consultant. We just interviewed one of the consultants last week, and we're going to be interviewing another one this week. So that's been a delay in getting a consultant to actually formally engage for the report for the project.
Okay, Counselor Strange?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'm talking about drainage, it kind of fits in, but as recent as yesterday, last couple of months, people have been noticing on Facebook and other social media sites about the black sewage that's been pouring into our Niagara River from Niagara Falls, New York. And as recent as yesterday, it happened again. We were actually doing our man-a-mile run, so just love to know what's going on here, because obviously there's been some fines, I guess, up to $50,000 on the Niagara Falls, New York Water Board. You know, I just don't know what the actual problem is. Is it actually overflow?
Yes.
Or is it actually infrastructure from over there? You know, I understand this is the first year that it's happened. And, you know, I'm not sure what's going on, and just, I don't know if we can get some kind of report back from, we direct staff to get a report back from Niagara Falls, New York, and find out what the actual problem is. You know, years ago, in the 1960s, Niagara Falls, New York had over 100,000 people. Now they have 50,000 people, and if is it an infrastructure problem, or an overflow problem, or what the problem is? You know, it's not looking good on obviously with tourism. It's flowing right into the Lake Ontario, and it's not a pretty sight. And when it happens 3 or 4 times in a great summer that we're having, it's not great for tourism, not great for our environment and everything. And even they were saying, there was one letter from the board saying that the levels of sewage was safe, and just wondering if we could, what is the level that is safe, and maybe we can get through our Ministry of Environment to find out what the levels are, and if they are safe through our staff.
Okay, so Mr. Clerk, did you get all that? All right, we got that. So motion by Councillor Strange, seconded by Councillor Pietrangelo, that we get a report back and maybe with some updates from Niagara Falls, New York, from Ministry of the Environment on the status of what's happening. Okay, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, motion for adjournment. Moved by Counselor Campbell, second by Counselor Thompson. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.